Next weekend in hell! Oh! 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 Who's Sparta? Oh! 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 Godson, doing a yard!
Coming home from a big night out. It's a sound that people living in this part of Swansea are only too familiar with. This is the unofficial student village, and by night it's party central. Most are simply having a good time, but the few families still living in the Brynmill area are often kept awake by the noise.
Get after it! All right.
And in the morning, they have to wade through the debris. It hasn't always been this way. Brynmill and nearby Uplands used to be the places to live. Wealthy families built magnificent houses here during Swansea's industrial glory days. But houses are now shabby bedsits with peeling paintwork and ragged curtains. The gardens once adorned by flowers are now decorated with old mattresses, unwanted furniture and mountains of rubbish. So why the change? Well, the university's been here for nearly 100 years and rubbed along with the community pretty well, until 15 years ago, when it began to expand rapidly. That's when the problem started. The campus, originally intended for 3,000 students, is now educating 18,000. A river of them crosses Singleton Park from Brynmill every morning on their way to college. This term, a record number of freshers came to study here, and they all need a place to stay. There are only 3,500 rooms for them on campus, but buy-to-let landlords have been more than happy to supply the demand. And as more and more young people come to study in Swansea, the number of houses in multiple occupation, so-called HMOs, is mushrooming. It's a sight that saddens people who've lived here a long time.
When I was growing up in Brynmill, I don't think you could possibly wish for a better place to live. Close to the beach, close to Brynmill and Singleton Parks, close to the recreation ground, which the fairground, the circus came there. As a child, you never had far to go. There was a wonderful place to live.
He's seen a steady stream of families leave as the students move in.
I think it's a bit like the kiss of death. If you see a student digs sign going up on a house in a street, then prospective buyers of other houses in that street, say a family, would look at it and think again, which is sad.
Now the street he grew up on is almost filled with houses in multiple occupation. Swansea Council estimates the number of HMOs in the city is 2,000, but others claim the number is double that. What is certain is that some streets now have only a handful of permanent residents left.
I think it's got to be in excess of 50%. In fact, I'd say during term time, Brynmill in particular, it might just as well be on the campus, as far as the volume of students are concerned.
Engineer Ken Richards says he survived the Blitz in Swansea, only to see his community decimated by the invasion of students.
The biggest change, I think, has been the university. I'm not against the university, I'm not against education. I love education anyway, and the university is a brilliant place. But it's expanded to such an extent that it's absolutely swamped Swansea. As I've been telling people, within 5 minutes walk from my property, where I live, there are 1,000 HMOs. There are some streets with only one permanent resident living there.
The change in the neighbourhood has brought many problems for local residents, not least late-night noise and antisocial behaviour. Pubs and clubs in the city are keen to take advantage of students' spending power. But youngsters who make the most of the low alcohol prices can spell trouble for those who are just trying to get some rest. It's Monday at 11 p.m, and youngsters are queuing to get into a student night at a local club. Most of them are well behaved, but with drinks costing just £1.60 all night. When they leave at 3 a.m, the effects are obvious.
It starts about 1:45, 1:45, and it can go until 5, 5:30 in the morning. You know, in general, as I say, you're walking up 6, 7, 8 times in the night, which is impossible to get rest or relaxation in your own living accommodation.
Dave Wilson lives on Bryn Road, where he is one of just 7 permanent residents left in a street of 95 houses. He's been keeping a log of the nighttime incidents and regularly calls the police to report problems. The police are responding to public concerns.
There's definitely been an increase of antisocial behaviour being reported in the area. Houses of multi-occupancy have definitely increased. On the last count, there's approximately 3,000, about 80% in Uplands and Brynmill.
Residents can call the community police directly on their mobiles, and officers have had to change their hours to coincide with the troubled times.
Their shifts are now being altered so that they work more late at night, going into the early hours of the morning, and it's responding to the needs and concerns of the community. That's what the community is telling us, is that these issues of antisocial behaviour are taking place around midnight, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
This is Dave's record of just one night's events at the start of this term. 12:45, bottles are thrown in the road. 15 minutes later, the wing mirror is broken off his car and 2 other cars are damaged. An hour and a half later, he's woken by drunks coming home. 3:45, the middle of the night, a group comes home swearing and singing loudly. Minutes later, drunks climb onto the bus shelter roof. Residents cope with the nightly disruption the best way they can.
I'm told by a number of people in the area that they're experiencing this year the worst rowdyism that they've ever come across. In fact, I've spoken to individuals who have told me that in the evenings it's better to have a few drinks and go to bed sloshed, in the hope that they'll sleep for the noise.
Sue Sturges has seen her home on St Helens Avenue gradually surrounded by student bedsits, and with them have come sleepless nights.
It's a nighttime thing where you don't see them very often during the daytime, unless of course they're going to university. But in the evening you find that there are all sorts of exploits going on. You have wheelie bin fights in the middle of the road. We had a girl put into a wheelie bin head first, and you know, she could have suffocated. We've had people lying in the road, and things like the windscreen wipers in the cars are bent forward, bags of rubbish put on the cars, apart from people throwing up in your garden or near your front door.
Many of the residents who packed this meeting with the police are fed up with antisocial behaviour.
There can be at any time 10 drunks walking towards you, you know, loud, shouting, swearing. Yeah. They may not have actually done anything, but it is a residential area. It is our homes. We've lived there for numbers of years. We love our area, and yet after a certain time you feel you can't step outside the door because you don't know what you're going to encounter.